What is up, bros and broettes? We are finally live. We will obviously put a replay up. I believe it is Thanksgiving in the US, so hope that is all going well. But what I want to do is go through and put a bit of a different structure around it, really, but just try and give a bit more clarity around what I want you to focus on this week. Obviously, we have calls with you all individually, and we really get an understanding of what those key things are for you to move forward. You've got the plan, you've got the process, but there's always some tweaks and adjustments along the way. But talking to a couple of you over the last couple of weeks, there's still some consistent goals along there that seem to be across the same line. And what I want to do through that is just to get a bit more of a clear understanding of what needs to be focused on for you as a collective and really being able to upgrade your training and move forward. So we're going to go through three different aspects of training, really make sure that we've got three distinct goals no matter what phase you're in, what training you're going through right now, making sure that you're able to improve what your focus is, where the intent is around exercise, and making sure that we can optimize your training, really feel like you can move forward there. Hey, Ryan. Hey, Alethea. And if you've got any questions throughout, let me know. Obviously, I'll answer them through. So that's all good. And then we can go through at the end, and there will be a replay left up, I believe. So first one I want to go to is, if I can actually go to the screen. Just while you're there, Alethea and Ryan, can you hear me? Is that all good and you can see the screen? Is that all coming up? Before I go rambling on for 20 minutes, we better make sure that's actually you're able to see that. Just type in the comments and let me know if you can see that. Sweet. All good. We will get into it then. Brilliant. So, problem number one is making sure we have the awareness around knowing what our body is telling us. And that can go a lot of different ways. It's trying to make sure that we have an understanding around are we going to get an understanding around how to move for us in the gym. So what needs to change in order to know what our range is that way. It's not full range, and it's not the full range of exercise. It's what's our active range. What can we actively control, and where should we be contracting? What we should be feeling. So if you're training back and your lats aren't firing, what do you need to do? What activations do you need to do? What movements do you need to go to in order to improve the way that muscle is trained, and that you can actually get some feedback from it. The other point of that is making sure we have an awareness around when to push and when not to. So if we've just had a massive day, we're stressed out of our mind, hopefully we're not, but if we're having a big day at work and there's a lot going on, then it's obviously going to affect our volume and our ability to really recover from training. So it might be a day that we're wanting to adjust our training volume. So even though we're following a plan, even though we've got a structure here, one of the big things I want you to focus on as we go through this is making sure you have the awareness of knowing what your body needs today. And there's a lot of talk about, in the high-end coaching space around heart rate variability, and very few people know what it means, but it's an interesting tool, which is essentially at the end of the day trying to tell us if it's a good day to push today. Is it a good day to push today? Are we recovered enough? And where is our performance and where we want to go? So I think a lot of that there is going to make some big differences in the future. But just like doing tests for our gut and knowing what intolerances are there, we can make a lot of change, and we can make a lot of shifts knowing this just by increasing our awareness of what our body is already telling us. So if you have intolerances and you're eating a food and you find you feel bloated and you feel tired and sluggish after eating that food, that it's probably a food that doesn't work for you. It's the same with training. If you feel like you're going to the gym, you've had 10 pre-workouts and you still can't get your ass off the couch, it's probably a day that you shouldn't go to train. So making sure there's a focus around listening to your body, taking action on what it's actually telling you, and maybe switching up those workouts for that week. So if you are a bit run down, you haven't got your meals in, your sleep is a little bit off, whatever that might be, then maybe we go and do an arms workout. Maybe we shorten that down to 30, 40 minutes or 30 minutes and max. And then if we're going in with a bit more drive and we really feel like we've got more to push, then we can go in and really make the most of it, maybe put that leg day on that day. So there is a reason we program it the way that we do, and everything is in an order. But if our body's telling us something else, then listen to it. So that's problem number one, not listening to your body. Make sure there's some awareness around what it's telling you. Problem two is making sure we have discipline around our movement. And this is easy if we're in the movement phase, or if we're just choosing a light weight and we're going through the motions, making sure that it moves well. But as we start pushing you a little further, so as we start to push through the weeks and start to put a bit more intensity around what we're doing, we want to make sure that doesn't change. There is no room or at least very little room for sloppy reps. We want to make sure that you stabilize, you lock everything down, and the muscle you're training is the only thing that's doing the work. So this is a super common one on this is chest, because your ability to stabilize your back becomes quite difficult if you're in the top reps of that. And this is why I took out bench press for years, because I literally couldn't get past a certain weight without everything just falling to shit. And it's making sure that building that stability in my back, building that stability around that movement needed to happen first before that was ever going to be effective in actually building tissue. So making sure that around how you're moving, and this isn't just for building muscle, this is making sure that there's some injury prevention and we're able to really set ourselves up for exercise without banging up our joints. So making sure that when the shit gets hard, when it starts burning, you're not just swinging right round for the sake of finishing 10 reps or 12 reps or whatever it might be. We're making sure there's a clear intention about why we're there. And it's not to complete 10 reps. It's to elicit a response in the muscle, make sure we're moving forward there. So making sure that you keep that at the front of your mind and making sure that when you're doing that exercise, you think about how you can get the most out of that muscle. How can you get a little bit more out of every inch of that range rather than just trying to swing and finish the rep, because nobody gives a shit if you finish the rep. The goal is making sure you're progressing, you're moving forward, and you're building control. You have engrams in your brain. Your body remembers these movements, right? So if you do 8 great reps and then you finish off with 2 crap reps, your body starts to affect the way you move is affected by how your body's remembered those movements. So your first rep should look the same as your last rep, and making sure that you nail that. There's obviously an increase in intensity and you're working hard and all the rest, but your tempo, your ability to contract that muscle, and everything in between should stay the same. So making sure that you are able to nail that last rep, you have some intention around controlling that. And honestly, it is a discipline. It is making sure that when shit gets hard, you're still able to keep that same composure in a movement, and then we start to really move forward. All right. And problem 3 is making sure we have a distinct visualization around what we're here to achieve and distinct goals and objectives with every workout. We're making sure that when we go in the gym, we have a plan and we know what that objective of that workout is. Are we doing a strength day? Are we doing a high volume? Are we trying to really elicit a response in a certain muscle group? And what is the goal of that day? That's obviously going to be or should be at the front of your mind when you're thinking about your recovery. So if you've got a massive leg day the next day, you want to make sure your nutrition's on point. You want to make sure you're hydrating. You want to make sure that everything that is in your power to change and make sure you're fully prepared for that workout, then we're doing the best you can to get that in that spot. So distinct goals around those workouts, obviously that's a massive part of your motivation and drive to keep coming back, because we have programs and we have that structure to make sure that you know that there's a thought process and you know there's something else behind them. But it's making sure that you're looking at these workouts ahead of time. You're not just going to the gym and being like, oh, what am I training today? So you're taking the time to watch those videos, relearn those movements, and really get clear with the cues to make sure that you're very clear about what you're doing in the gym. And I put up a post about this the other day, is you shouldn't just be watching the videos once and thinking you know how to do this stuff. It does take a lot of time. You're always going to have one muscle group that feels a little off, and trying to master the skill of exercise comes down to relearning that stuff and taking your time to take a video of it, see how things moves, take an inventory of what your body is telling you as you're moving, and making sure that you're checking in and really making sure you have a plan before each workout. So that's your number 3. And ultimately, that is kind of your goal for today. I want to make sure that we're going to do one of these a little bit more often. Let me know how you found that. We're going to go through the main problems and the main setbacks for your nutrition, your sleep, your training, your mindset towards all this, and really make sure that you're clear on what needs to happen for you moving forward, and making sure that you're not slipping up and you're not being left behind or getting sloppy with how you're approaching your training. So these are your problems. These are the main 3 that everybody is running into when it comes to building muscle, losing fat, and really just optimizing the way they train, making the most of your time in the gym. So first one, just build the awareness, listen to what your body's telling you, really step back, focus on your breathing, focus on how your body's feeling. So when you go into the gym, you know how hard you should be pushing, you know what foods are working for you when you ultimately are in tune with your body. This is why a flow state is so important. A flow state with athletes, a flow state with writers is such an important part of gaining mastery in any field, and it's no different with training. Problem 2 is making sure we have that discipline to keep it tight, keep things controlled as things get hard. And then problem 3 is making sure you keep your objectives in mind and you make sure that you are preparing for those workouts by watching the videos, knowing what movements you're doing, and getting set for the workouts. So if there's no questions, I'm going to leave that there, and we're going to dive into another one next week. Let me know how you found it, and we will leave it there. Have a good one, team.